Hey, this is Donna. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again today. I have a special guest with me, and he has been a guest before, Greg Osterholt.
Osterholt.
Osterholt. Make sure I said it correctly.
No, good.
And Greg has been with me once before on another podcast called The Dating Game, and that was a couple weeks ago. And we had such a good time that, by golly, we wanted to do it again. But the subject we're going to talk about today is the purging of assholes. So now that you've heard that and you can keep laughing, asshole is a very general, broad category. Mm-hmm. And lots of people fit into that category. And I'm not just talking about the guy you just flipped a finger to while you were driving, or somebody in the grocery store with umpteen thousand coupons standing in front of you, or the president of the United States, or the NFL. We can throw them in there too. Anyone that you could generally call an asshole is what we're actually talking about. But the purging of assholes is actually a little bit of a deeper subject, because I'm talking about people that are toxic. People that bring nothing but negativity into a relationship. Mm-hmm. And what winds up happening is that you hear a lot of things that you would rather not hear, and really wish that person would take their crap and didn't send it off in another direction on someone else's ears, right, not yours. So for me personally, I have had many instances of toxic people mm-hmm. in my life. And I choose not to be around toxic people, because I am a happy, positive person, always have been. And I find that when I hang around someone who is not, it's depressing. It's like dragging a ball in a chain. Mm-hmm. And you sit there and you go, oh, God, why me? Well, yeah, why you? You know why? Because you've actually made the choice to stay in that relationship and listen to it. But as soon as you shut that off, as soon as you make a different choice and say, you know what, I would rather never hear this again. And the only way that I may never hear this again is to tell this person, you know what, so-and-so, I like you as a person, but what you bring to the table for me goes against the grain of who I am right. about. So I've taken friendships and I've re-examined friendships that you think are friendships. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at them clearer, you think, oh, well, that's not really a friendship, because all this person does is bring shit to the table, and, right. and then I'm the one who has to sit there and listen to it.
Right.
So, Greg, why don't you go first? Because I can tell by the look on your face that you've had instances with a few of these toxic people.
Well, we were talking earlier before we started on the air about incidents that have happened in our lives. And, I can relate to your stories. And as I'm sitting there listening to you, I'm reflecting on some of my experiences too, because, oftentimes it's embarrassing, because you don't think, when you're in it, you think that you're alone and no one really else goes through those things that you're going through. But as you talk to, like you, my friend, you start to realize, we have more in common than I thought we did as far as our own personal experiences. Because we like to, sometimes it's easy to look at people or their lives or their relationships as being perfect, because that's the image that often people put out. And so, you're often finding yourself being envious and maybe a little jealous, like, oh, I wish I had that. But none of us really know what goes behind the scenes, or what led on to certain things, either a breakup or moving on from a relationship. And like I said, we were talking earlier before we started on some of your experiences, and I've been through very similar situations that you've been through as far as relationships. And referring that as to assholes. And I think a lot of us have experienced that. It's never fun. It's never easy. Like you said, it's depressing. It weighs you down. It's very sad. And, I'm like you. I think I'm a very positive person. I want to live a clean life. I want to live a happy life. But at the same time, I want to share my life with someone. And, I've had an incident one time where I was in a relationship, and like most relationships, it starts out really nice, and everything's going around really well, and you're thinking, oh, I found a good person I want to spend my life with, my time with, and share it together. And after a while, I call it the mask. The mask comes off, and you start seeing things, or you start seeing that person a little bit differently as time goes on. And because in life in general, things happen. We have our ups and our downs, but you can always contest a good relationship when things aren't so good, and how they're going to support you on that, and how they're going to walk you through that. And it's like in your wedding vows, for better or for worse. Well, when the worst comes, and it will, how's your relationship going to sustain that? And I was in a very up and down relationship for 24 years, and you don't even know this story about me.
Oh, good.
I thought I'd spring it on to you on the air. But I was in a relationship for 24 years, and I would say probably the first 10 was okay. Things were going along, and we talked about red flags. And those little red flags kind of pop up over the years, but you choose to ignore them. You're thinking, you make excuses for yourself, and you make excuses for them, and you make excuses for the situation. And us being positive people, we can fix this, we can overlook it. We're going to make it better.
Right.
Our faith is strong, our belief is strong. We're strong people. I think you and I are strong people, so we're gonna make it through we're gonna weather the storm.
Right.
And time goes on, years go on, and other situations happen. And so, in my personal problem is my ex was highly allergic to work. He didn't like to work a lot. Yeah, he didn't like to work. It's funny. Look, I can laugh about it now.
Right.
At the time, I couldn't.
Right.
But it seemed like every time he got a job, that it was, that person's an asshole, or this person did that, or this person said that. And at first, I sympathized with them and thought, wow, okay. And but me, anything that I do in life, job, relationships, whatever I do, I give it my all, and I fight through it. And but then after a while, I start seeing a pattern where maybe it's not someone that something said to him, or something that someone did to him. I started looking at maybe it's you.
Him. Right. Mm-hmm.
You need to look in the mirror. Maybe you're not the one that's not saying the right things or doing the right thing. And so it was incidents like that. And of course, that lies a financial burden on me.
Sure, right. Then somebody has to pay the bills.
Someone's got to pay the bills. And the number one thing that people fight about in relationships are
money, sex, and politics, I think. Are those the three?
Okay, well, you're right, exactly. Well, my incident...
Or religion, you can throw that in there too.
That in there too. But my incident, it was money. And, and when that's thrown on one's lap over and over and over again, it gets really old. And so then you start arguing, you start fighting. And so that was my situation. And another one is cheating. I've never experienced that, thank God. But the fact that there was a trust issue in my relationship, and to me, trust is everything.
It's very large.
It's huge. And then you start questioning everything in the relationship. You start questioning, is he cheating? Because then you don't know anymore. If he's lying about his job or his situation, then what else is there not being uncovered here? Mm-hmm. So it just kind of filters to everything. And so that was my situation. And we were talking again on the air about their responsibilities. Their phone bill, their credit card bills. Donna, same thing. We had broken up so many times over the course of the 24 years. And I remember one time, I guess it was probably my aha moment where I knew that things had really changed a lot, is I always maintained a great credit rating. It's always important to me. I always paid my bills on time and took care of what I needed to take care of and my responsibilities. Where in his case, he always had a horrible credit rating, blah, 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 blah. And once again, going back to the whole job situation, always in and out of jobs all the time. Couldn't hold one down. And I remember I get this credit card bill in the mail, and I'm like, this is weird. I don't own anything to discover. And turns out where he had gotten my card out of my wallet and rung up all this debt.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
And so, it's in my name.
Sure.
And I'm responsible for it.
Mm-hmm. He knew that.
And he knew that and knew what a good heart I had and that I was going to pay for it.
You took advantage.
Took advantage. And so, of course, I brought it up to him, argued about it, try to lie about it. And which I don't know why would you even do that, because
right, you caught him red-handed.
Caught you red-handed.
Well, he had to know eventually you were going to get that bill.
Exactly. But that's where denial sets in, and you start believing your own bullshit. When you give out bullshit, you start believing your own bullshit.
Right, and you get bullshit back, actually.
Exactly. And so that was the first hit, and then I took care of that, and things moved on. And throughout those years, we kept breaking up. I'd always take him back. I'd feel sorry for him.
Sure.
And, once again, bullshitting me about stuff. And I'd buy into it and feel sorry for him.
Well, because he knew you would do that.
He knew I would do it. And I had done it so many times before. And at the end, we had broken up once again. And I knew we had moved to Florida. We moved to Florida, and we both had jobs lined up. And we actually were working for the same company, oddly enough. I get him the job where I'm going to be working at, which in hindsight was a big mistake. But I did, and he messes that up as well. And, my reputation's on the line. My good name is on the line. And so we were there a total of 8 months, and he'd gone through 4 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, says a lot right there.
That's a lot. And so and once again, history's repeating itself all over again. So I remember coming to him and going, you know what, it's time to go back to Dallas. I've had enough. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to stay with a friend. I'm going to rebuild my finances the best I can and rebuild my life. And you're not going to be part of it. And that was a hard decision, but it was something I thought about and I had put up with for many, many years. And coincidentally, I moved back. My partner at the time actually became a homeless person because he didn't have his life raft with him anymore, which was me.
Okay.
And sadly enough, he became homeless, and I was paying his phone bill, so he would at least have some sort of a lifeline. And I was sending him some money so he would eat. And that went on for several months. And then all of a sudden, I didn't hear from him for a long time. And of course, I worried sick about how he was doing, what he was doing. And finally, and then I tried to call him, and the phone was disconnected. And so I reached out to him through email after a period of time, and he responded, and kind of got his feet back on the ground a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And so we stayed in contact a little bit, but at a distance. Well, it turned out he had access to my Social Security number.
Oh, you're
He had
kidding
access,
me.
and so he started opening up accounts under me, charging up debt, to a fine tune of like $20,000.
Oh my God, Greg. Oh, seriously?
Yeah. I mean, the asshole just got bigger and bigger. And so that's kind of the nutshell of it. And anyway, I got past all that. And finally I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't do you anymore. You have completely taken advantage of me, my generosity. And so that's my story of an asshole. So I guess with me being said is, you know, in my future, I want to trust again. You know, I know there's a lot of assholes out there, but I want that to be part of my future and being part of my trust issues with people like that. So that's my contribution of an asshole. So I can definitely relate to what this whole show is about because I've been a victim of it myself.
Well, you're good-hearted and you're generous.
Thank you.
And you're a really nice guy.
Thank you.
Which is why we're friends.
Right.
You and I have always just had a connection since we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we're similar in that regard.
Right.
But what winds up happening, because I've been down this road too, and I've told you some stories, and I'm not sure I can get to all of them today in this particular podcast, but what happens when you're good-hearted and you're generous and loving and kind is you get taken advantage of.
Right.
So then when that happens, now you're leery of other people because you lost something very important and special, which is trust.
Exactly.
Trust is so hard to earn, and so when you lose it with somebody, it's just gone.
Right.
So it makes you a little bit leery to go out there and think, okay, well, maybe I won't get screwed this time.
Right.
Which is sort of a shitty way to have to go through life, but on the other side of that, it's made you smarter.
Exactly. It has made me smarter and stronger.
Yes, it seems so. With obstacles in life in general, is that they may suck while you have them, but at the end of that line, you're going to be a stronger, smarter person.
Right.
And hindsight is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Because you can go back and look at it. Now you can see things clearly.
Right.
Whereas when you're in there in the moment, it's
Right.
just this muddled shit.
Right.
You know, and you go through the arguing and you go through the breaking up and getting back together and breaking up, and it wasn't meant to be.
Exactly.
But you were meant to come out of it stronger.
Absolutely.
And the other good point that you brought up, the mask.
The mask.
No, it's very important because, you know, I've told both of my kids this story about how I've taken friendships, not that there were that many, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3,
Right.
that I thought were friendships, okay? And when you reevaluate and you find out that this is not really a friend, well, I have 2 options now. I can delete you as a friend,
Right.
or I can continue to be a friend on your terms, which are not good for me.
Right.
And I know with my son, I had this recent conversation with him about some of his high school friends. Now, my son is 24 now,
Okay.
so we're going back quite a few years, but some of those high school friends never grew up. They're just la-di-da-da. They're not growing. They're not grown-ups yet.
Right.
And I've told Jordan, I'm like, Jordan, you've graduated from this. I said, at some point you're going to meet other people where you have a common denominator.
Right.
Okay? And he goes to SMU, great school.
Nice.
He's getting his degree in economics.
Good.
Makes me tired just thinking about it. But it's also a very cliquey kind of an atmosphere.
Okay.
So if you're not in a fraternity, which he had no desire to ever be in,
Okay.
you're not really meeting other people that you would actually want to associate with.
Right.
And just recently, he's got in touch with 2 people that he met through his girlfriend.
Okay.
And one of those guys was someone he played basketball with, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So he met 2 of his friends, and all of a sudden, there's a relationship where these are successful guys that are, you know, have their own apartment, they live together, they have great jobs, and now Jordan's starting to see that, yes, there is another side.
Absolutely.
There is a greener side.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying you can ditch those friends if you so desire, but eventually you're going to come to that point on your own. And he said to me, he said, Mom, he says, I'm taking, your lead on this because of what you've done with some of your friends.
Absolutely.
And you're in a better place for it. You know
Right.
why I'm in a better place? Because I don't have to put up with that shit.
Exactly.
It's their shit.
Exactly.
It's not mine.
It's not yours.
It's not mine. But that mask it's important because the way I explained it to him is that everyone has their basic being, who they are.
Right.
Okay? If they want something from you, they can put on this mask, which you went through in your 24-year relationship,
Right.
and then the one after that,
Right.
where it looks like it's okay, but as soon as you buck the system,
Right.
or you don't agree with it, or you all of a sudden that mask comes off.
Right.
That basic being is still there because it hasn't changed.
No.
It's just that they know how to put on different masks.
Exactly.
Because they know how to get in your face
Yep.
and get in under your skin.
Yep.
And Jordan has the same type of personality where he's giving and he's loving and he's got a good heart. And you know what? You wind up getting taken advantage of.
You do.
Unfortunately, that's what winds up happening. Does that suck? Yep, it sucks. But you know what? You're going to come out stronger and smarter.
That's right.
And you're going to be a little bit more selective about who you decide to call a friend.
Exactly.
Because that friend they will show their true colors.
They will eventually.
Red flags don't go away.
They don't.
They pop up. There's a reason why they pop up. And I can remember reading that, when you say, and I use this expression all the time, you feel it in your gut. There is a direct relationship between what goes on up here and your gut.
Exactly.
They do talk to each other.
Right.
So if your gut's telling you something's up.
Something's
Listen.
really up.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Because if I go back in time to relationships that I've had that didn't last, those red flags were blown in the breeze. I mean, they're there. And they're
Right.
not going away.
No.
And when I look back at those times, I think you knew the red flags were there.
Right.
You chose to ignore them for however long you chose to ignore them until you finally hit the wall. So what happens to me is when I hit the wall, when I end something, it's done. It's absolutely done.
Right.
Okay, all the memories I need are right here.
Right.
And anything that has anything to do with that person in particular, get the hell out. All right? An object, things, get out. I don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
And Jordan, has said to me on more than one occasion, Mom, you are ruthless. And I think the way he says it because he feels that when you just cut something off, you just cut it off.
Right.
I don't need that baggage.
No.
Who needs baggage?
No. I think actually you're being very smart.
I think it's the smarter way to do something
Yes.
because if you don't cut it off
Right.
and you let it sort of lag on like your 24 years,
Yes.
like my 27 years with my ex-husband.
Right.
You make excuses, you think whatever it is you think.
Right.
It can make this better, it can fix it. No, actually, sometimes you can't.
No, you can't.
You can't. So if you can be cognizant of your own patterns, because we all have them, and know that if somebody puts on their mask, however many masks they have, to get under your skin and get into your life, yes, it can be hard to cut it off, or you make that choice to cut it off, you will be happier in the end. Because cutting it off, it makes a statement. First of all, it makes a statement to yourself.
Absolutely. And I don't think you don't realize how strong we can be until we're put in that position. And I think this is where you and I are so similar in this incident where we know we come to a point where we just can't do it anymore.
Hit the wall.
And we
I
hit the
wall.
You're exactly to your point earlier. We hit the wall. At one point you hit a wall. One point I hit a wall. It took me a long time to hit that wall.
I did too. It took me a long time also.
But when we hit it and we're done.
Well, I also think that in cases of, with your relationship, marriage wasn't involved, but in mine, when you're married, till death do you part and all that
Right.
stuff, how long do you let something go when you're miserable and because you're married,
Right.
that you feel that you are tied to something?
Right.
That sucks.
Right.
So what do? Stay in something miserable, or you cut it off and you say, you know what? I think the grass is greener on the other side.
Right. It's got to be greener on the other side.
Because this sucks.
Because this is not working anymore.
This is not working. So if it stops working and you can't come to some middle ground
Right.
where you can work through stuff, there's nothing to work through.
Right. Right.
It's a dead-end street.
Exactly. And it takes two to make that happen. And when one's trying, the other one's not.
Right. It's a dead end.
It's a dead end.
And I've been through that with marriage, and we were together 27 years,
Wow.
married for 21.
Wow.
But the last 10 years of that marriage, I hit the wall, okay? But I was afraid. I was scared.
Fear is a big
Fear is
factor.
another one. Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Well, if I leave here, I came from a broken home.
Right.
Okay, it sucked. All right, I can remember my mother using my brother and I as pawns.
Wow.
Okay, and some of my memories are not crystal clear, and some are crystal freaking clear.
I'm sure.
Okay, that there was no fun going on there.
Right.
And so that's the memory that I brought with me
Right.
from childhood. So I'm already thinking the worst. Okay, if I get out of this, will he make my kids hate me? Will he make them resent me? Are you going to play those games that my mother played?
Exactly.
Okay, I think the answer to that question would have been yes.
Right.
And so it's fear of the unknown that kept me in a marriage 10 years longer
Wow.
than I should have been.
Wow.
10 years is a long
It's
time.
a long of your life.
10 years of my life, you think, well, that's a decade,
Right.
okay? And I can remember going to see somebody. I don't know what she was, a psychologist or whatever, and I think I went to her maybe 2 or 3 times. And, I would come home and he'd be like, what'd you talk about? That's none of your business,
Right.
okay? I was already attracted to somebody else.
Right. Ooh.
Now, now you're in that, I hate to use that clusterfuck. Oh,
Right.
shit.
Right.
Okay, I'm married. I've been married for a long time. I have 2 kids.
Right.
I'm attracted to somebody else. I'm
Right.
not sure. What do I do with these feelings?
Exactly.
So you know what I did?
What'd you do?
I went to my internist, and he was the same internist for my ex as well.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, you know what? I'm just pissed off all the time. Every day. Pissed. Just pissed.
Yeah.
I wake up pissed, go to sleep pissed. And and that's not a nice feeling.
No,
that
no.
sucks.
You shouldn't walk around feeling that way.
He put me on Lexapro.
Okay.
10 years I stayed on Lexapro
Wow.
to stay in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in it any longer.
Wow.
And when I left, I didn't understand. I didn't expect him to understand.
No.
Okay, because he had his happy little life where he was able to have sex whenever he felt like
Wow.
it. He got his meals prepared for him. His house was clean. His kids were being raised.
Wow.
Wow, things are just fine and dandy for me.
Yeah.
Well, I said, you know what? I actually would like to be able to live by myself.
Right.
And if I want to eat a bowl of cereal for dinner and read a book and go to sleep, that's what I want to do.
That's right.
He looked at me like I had 6 heads.
Wow.
I went off that Lexapro after I left. Not on purpose.
Right.
Didn't pick up the refill. You know what? I was dizzy for 3 days, and after that, I'm done. I don't need to be on that shit.
No.
So I'm on a drug to stay in a relationship to make you happy.
Wow.
Not me.
Wow.
There was no happiness here.
Exactly.
So and I know you don't have any kids, but when you have children, you are and always will be an example to your kids.
Absolutely.
Okay, because your actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
They're watching what you're doing. They're listening. They're paying attention. Because I'm seeing it with Jordan. I'm going to take your lead on this, Mom, because there's nothing good coming out of these relationships. In fact, they're a drag.
Right.
Because that's what they are. They're a drag.
Right.
They drag down you. If you consider yourself here in the atmosphere and you're hanging around with people that are down here and their attitude is down here, they're just yanking on your chain and pulling you down.
Yeah.
You deserve to be up here.
Absolutely.
But you can't be up here when you have negative, toxic people that are constantly pulling down at you.
Absolutely. And to your point, Donna, you're right. When you have children, that changes everything. Because it's not just you, it's your children, too, that you got to think about.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, you know, I mean, I can relate to your story to a degree as far as being in a bad relationship for a long time. But yeah, you're right. I don't have any children, so that changes a lot of things. But I think our common denominator is that we stayed at the party too long,
Absolutely.
to the point where
Yep.
we were just miserable.
Overstayed our welcome.
Overstayed our welcome. And it's a very similar situation. I would never consider myself a depressed person at all. I
Yeah,
was
me either.
always, you know, felt good. Everything was great. But as I was going through this transition and realizing at the end when things weren't going good and I really needed to end it, that's when I got on medication too for the first time.
Okay.
And so because I needed that to, you know, feel normal again.
Right.
And just like you, once I made that break and got settled, I got off of it. I mean, one day, just cold turkey. I'm done with this. Never filled the prescription
You needed
again.
it. It was like a crutch for
It
a small
was.
period of time.
It was.
Well, mine was a crutch for about 10 years. Okay, 10 years too long. I mean, it's just, but I just know that leaving a marriage where I'm not a pissed off person.
Right.
By nature, can I get pissed? Of course, that doesn't everyone. I'm
Right.
talking about when you wake up pissed in the morning and you go to sleep pissed because
Yeah.
because I'm here
Right.
and you're here.
Right.
There's too big of a gray
You're not-
area in
right,
between.
right.
It's the gray hole, the
Right,
abyss.
right.
You fall into the abyss.
Yep.
And when I left, it was that feeling. It was like it's the most. Oh, wow,
Right.
wow.
I can breathe.
I can breathe.
Yeah.
I'm not under someone else's thumb.
Right.
All the time, 24/7. I mean, I had what I did during the day that made me happy.
Right.
You know, I played tennis. I was involved in the PTA. I did umpteen thousand things for my children.
Right.
But I never had that me time of just chilling out.
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about your shit.
Right.
But then, you know, it's funny because it's been, after that, I've been divorced for about 8 years now. I've had other relationships,
Mm-hmm.
you know, another one for about 3.5 years and a couple of in-between ones, 3 years here, a couple months here or there. All those red flags, they're all there.
Yeah.
They were all there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, I don't mind being alone.
Right.
Okay, I actually, I like me. I'm actually really happy with me. Okay, so when I'm alone and I do what I want to do, it makes me happy. You know what? That kicks ass.
Absolutely.
But then when you feel, I hate to use the word lonely, but when I knew Nirvana existed
Right.
and I was looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find it until I was able to do exactly what I said we're doing, the purging of assholes.
Purging of assholes.
After the last breakup I had with somebody who wanted to have a threesome.
Oh, God.
Really? Okay, do I have a sign in my head that says, I would like to have a threesome?
Oh, God.
Throw the love word around and blah, blah, and you, okay, you know what? Fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
Exactly.
But it took me being able to find the common denominator. Okay,
Right.
Donna, you've dated the same person
Right.
since you've been sexually active all these years
Right.
in different body sizes and shapes,
Right.
and you get the same results. What's the common denominator? Me.
Right.
I'm choosing to date people who have never been married, never had kids, and you get the same results, and you're wondering why.
Right.
And that's when I, again, hit the wall
Right. Hit the wall.
and said, okay, Donna, cut the head off the snake.
Mm-hmm.
You are never dating another person that's never been married, had kids.
Right.
Threw it in the trash. 6 weeks later, I meet Steve,
Your current boyfriend.
my current boyfriend.
Okay.
I hate that word boyfriend. It's a
I
stupid
know.
word. I mean, at the age of 55, boyfriend just sounds retarded. That my soulmate.
Your soulmate. Okay, we'll say that. Your
I'll say
soulmate.
that instead.
Okay.
And I always thought soulmate was a crock of shit.
Right.
Really? Come on, folks.
But now you're experiencing it.
I'm experiencing it because I was able to throw away the shit.
Right.
The assholes.
The assholes.
Throw away the shit.
Right.
Because when you throw away shit, another door opens.
Absolutely.
So I closed that door and another door opened.
Man.
And this has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Amazing.
Amazing. So there's hope for everybody.
Absolutely.
But I think some of it is just realizing who the common denominator is. Michael Jackson has that song, Man in the Mirror.
Right.
Listen to those lyrics.
That's right.
Look at the man in the mirror.
That's right.
'Cause that's where it all starts.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people can't do that. Sometimes you're going to look and you're not going to like what you see.
Right.
But you don't like what you see, you can change it.
Absolutely.
You can make that choice to say, you know what, I don't really like that part of who I am. So if I'm that person, I gain this.
Exactly.
I'm attracted to this, which is, if you're attracted to shit, guess what? You get shit.
You get shit.
But if you throw the shit away and you're attracted to something better, you're going to get better.
Absolutely.
It's the way it works.
The way and I guess we all have to experience it.
Yes, we do.
When we're younger, especially, and you learn as you go. And you're right. I think if we put out positively good vibes, they come back to you. And I think you and I, Donna, are good people, and we deserve to be happy. And I think everything happens in full circle, and we've gone through the assholes or the asshole situations in our life, and it's made us the people that we are today.
It's very true.
And you're in a nice, loving, positive, happy soulmate situation. I'm discovering a new one now, so I'm very excited about that. My situation, briefly, is this particular gentleman that I'm seeing. Oddly enough, we knew each other from 18 years ago.
Okay.
Our paths crossed back then. We were actually neighbors. We lived across the street from one another. And at the time, he was in a relationship and I was in a relationship, but there was this undeniable kind of chemistry. But neither one of us had acted on it, of course, to respects of our partners.
Right.
But it was there. I felt it, he felt it. And I remember they ended up moving after a couple of years, and we stayed behind. And years had gone by, and every once in a while we'd bump into each other. And he was single at the time that I would run into him, but I was still in my relationship. So out of respect towards the relationship, I kind of kept my distance. I never reached out to him, never really called him, but we just kept bumping into each other. It was just weird. And a couple of months ago, I'm talking to a friend on the phone, and this other guy's name is mentioned just out of the clear water, and he cuts hair. So my friend that I'm talking to the phone with is at his salon getting his haircut, and I knew that he got his haircut at his salon. And so we were talking, and through that conversation that evening, I get a surprise text and going, "How are you?" And I'm texting back going, "Who is this?" And it turns out to be this gentleman that I had known 18 years ago, and our paths had crossed all these years. And so now that I'm single, we started seeing each other in the last couple of months. And where I feel good about it is because I know this man, I know his heart, I know what a good human being he is. So I know there's no asshole tendencies
syndrome
there because of the past. So like you, I can relate to your situation where I feel like I found my potential soulmate. I mean, baby steps, of course.
Right.
But I'm excited about it.
I'm happy for you.
Well, thank you.
No, I think that a lot of people out there can resonate with what we're talking about, because there's not a person on this planet that doesn't deal with an asshole or several of them every day.
That's right.
Okay, so it's how you choose to deal with the relationship.
Absolutely.
Is it worth it?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, is it really worth it?
Absolutely.
So I'll leave you all with that thought today, because I know you're all thinking about somebody. There's someone that just popped in your brain, and you're like, well, guilty. Yeah, I've got one of those, or I have several of those. And, you are allowed to choose. We all have the right to choose.
Right.
And sometimes that choice can make a difference in your life.
Absolutely.
A really big difference. Mm-hmm. So I will leave you all with that today. Greg, thank you so much again for being here today. We're going to do this again, and we're going to pick another topic, because we have way too much fun when we get together.
We do.
We're being pretty good here, but when Greg and I get giggling, it's pretty freaking funny. But anyway, thank you all for joining me today, and thank you, Greg, for coming.
Thank you.
And
Donna.
I do have 2 books that I've written. One is called Headstrong: Surviving a Traumatic Brain Injury Without Losing My Mind, and you can pretty much figure out what that's about. And the second book is called Heartstrong: Overcome Obstacles and Live Life to the Fullest. So you can order those books if you're interested in reading a good story. They're not terribly big, but they get the point across. And I do have a new website called kickitwithdonna.com. So you can see all of my other podcasts on there and listen to them. You can order books. They also come in the audio version. And I also, you can find my podcasts on 4 other different venues. There's iTunes, there's Google Play, there's Stitcher, and I always forget the other one. I'm so sorry. At least remember those 3 and you're all good. But anyway, I will see you all again next week. Thank you for joining me today. Have a good one.